Hey everybody, and welcome to The Breakthrough Effect. I'm your host, Jared Sebesta. I've had two successful careers. First, I was an award-winning TV meteorologist, and then a financial marketing strategist. I was living the dream, making good money, but inside I was craving for something more, something bigger. So I stopped deferring life and I started creating exactly the life I was searching for. I doubled down on unlearning old mindsets and creating big breakthroughs for me and my family. And now I'm bringing that same transformation to you. Let's understand the rules of this game. Let's get clarity. Let's stop chasing and start becoming. This is the Breakthrough Effect.
If the ceiling is not rising with the more hours, the more effort you're putting in, then you're probably doing the wrong activity. I tell people in sales, you can talk to 100 people a day, but if you're talking to the wrong people or you're saying the wrong thing, the results aren't going to change.
All right, today on The Breakthrough Effect, I am talking with Kendra Cooke, a woman who spent 17 plus years helping leaders and organizations discover their true purpose and reach their highest potential. Here's what makes Kendra different. She doesn't just teach you to work harder, she teaches you to work smarter, building systems and structures to create seven-figure results while maintaining the balance between peace and most entrepreneurs' desire to win. As a best-selling author of Embrace, Empower, Evolve, and a sought-after speaker, mentor, and branding strategist, Kendra has cracked the code that most business leaders never figure out: the difference between being committed to your success and just contributing to it. Get ready for a breakthrough conversation all about working smarter, not harder, and becoming the kind of leader that people actually want to follow. Please welcome to the show, Kendra Cooke. Kendra, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much. That was a nice one.
Thank you. Well, I'm excited to chat with you. We have a couple of mutual friends. Let's get started, shall we?
Yes, do it.
You know, I've got my... I guess I don't know how to define this word, but you talk about it a lot. How would you define the grind?
The grind. It is the mundane, dull, boring tasks that you do every single day to succeed. And, people want the new shiny object and they want the new fancy Fandangle app or whatever. And honest to goodness, sales, leadership, marketing, all of it is just mastering the grind, which is the mundane of doing something repetitively until you master it and you get big results at the end.
The mundane. So like as a result of being in I'm using air quotes here, the grind for too long, how does somebody know that they've been stuck in it for too long, and maybe how can they start to course correct?
I think that's a great question. The grind, the toughest part about the grind is it is mundane and you stay there. But if the ceiling is not rising with the more hours, the more effort you're putting in, then you're probably doing the wrong activity. I tell people in sales, you can talk to 100 people a day, but if you're talking to the wrong people or you're saying the wrong thing, the results aren't going to change, right? And so that's kind of the mundane and the grind of figure out what works and do more of it and just stay in that lane. But the unfortunate part, if you're in the wrong lane and you're talking to the wrong people or you're saying the wrong thing, then the results won't change. And that's how you know you're stuck and you're not really growing in that grind. You're just kind of in the lane. Does that make sense?
It does. Repeat what you said at the beginning. You said something about the ceiling. The ceiling's not shifting. Did I hear you right?
Yeah, well, if the ceiling is not rising or shifting or moving to give you bigger results, then obviously what you're doing is not right? We all have a glass ceiling. It's kind of like when I teach people how to hire, when to hire, who to hire. They keep saying, I can't grow. And I'm like, well, everybody has a glass ceiling. If we don't put more people under the ceiling to lift it, more activity, more impact, the ceiling's going to stay the same. You're just going to keep hitting your head. So for the ceiling to move or shift, or the glass ceiling, you're going to have to do something different if you're not getting the results you want.
I like that, because I do see a lot of people kind of live in the same year over and over again. And I think we both agree, if you look back a year ago and you're kind of playing the same game, and I don't mean the same business, I mean, you are the same person. It's pretty much just play repeat. That's not the trajectory we're supposed to have. Give me an example of what that looks like, of a thing that is keeping somebody stuck. Something you've seen that a lot of leaders and entrepreneurs get to. What's kind of some of those, maybe a couple of key things that people get stuck on and play repeat same year after year?
I love it. So one of the biggest ones is I was never a cold caller in sales. So my background is really in real estate. And so I figured out early on, I didn't want people to cuss me out or hang up on me and hurt my feelings. So I wasn't going to cold call people. I was going to chase people that know, like, and trust me. And I'm shocked at how many people in sales say, well, my database knows what I do, so I don't want to bother them, or I don't want to call them because I'll look desperate. I'm like, what the heck? You are desperate. You've got mouths to feed, cars to drive, houses to pay for. Like, we are desperate. Salespeople, we work to get paid. So getting in that mindset of people know what we do, and so we're not going to bother them, that's just crazy. That's crazy talk to me. Or I'm just going to do everything myself because people only want to work with me. That is nothing more than a little word called EGO, the ego, right? We cannot do everything. You want to grow, yet we all have tapped out. Like, we've hit that glass ceiling. We can't take on any more clients. We can't do any more business, but yet you don't want to hire somebody to help you. And it's like, that just doesn't make sense to me. And I know why. We're scared of hiring the wrong person. You will. We're scared of having enough money. You will never have enough money. You've got to take the risk to grow, to move past that. And it's all between our ears. It's all mental. It's the games that we play with ourselves that hold us back and keep us stuck.
How do you brought up hiring somebody? We were just literally talking about that before we hit record, right? I think there's a lot of people that listen to this show that are entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, stuck, want to scale, all the above, and that one comes up a lot. I'm curious, just from a personal aspect, how do you go about that? Like, how do you wrap your brain like hiring an employee when, especially in our business, like the income is irregular, and now you're going to commit to paying, an executive or a marketing team X amount of dollars per month. Like, is there some sort of filter you run that through, an equation to say that this is the right decision, or how do you maybe know mentally that you're ready to make that leap?
Yeah, for me, it's a couple of things. I tell people start tracking everything you do and everything that you're doing that you're like, I could outsource this. I could delegate this. This is not a high priority of my high value activities, right? And start making that list. Now you've created the job description of the person you need to hire. Is it an administrative assistant? Is it a marketing person? Like, what is the job description for that person? You just created it by writing down the things you can delegate, you're not good at, or that takes you a lot of time, right? I think that's step number one. Step number two is figure out what you're worth per hour. Take your income from last year, divide it by 12 months, divide it by 40, 44, 45 hours a week. Figure out what you're worth an hour. When I'm worth $200 or $500 an hour, am I going to sit here and type up a social media post and check it for grammatical errors and go find the perfect picture? Absolutely not, right? And the third thing that holds us back from hiring is the money. And so what I tell people is every time you have a great month, stack some money away, have 3 months worth of reserves to pay that person sitting on the sideline, not allocated for taxes, not allocated for expenses, but a 3-month supply to pay this person. And here's what I will tell you. If you get them in and you have a good onboarding training system, within 3 months, they should be making that money back for you because it's freed you up to go make more sales calls where you can make that hourly dollar rate to pay for them and get your money back. So I think the fear does come around money. It's just build up some capital so you can take care of it. Number two, how do you train and delegate them? Write the things that you don't want to do yourself, and that's an easy way to train them. And if you're going to hire them and onboard them, don't do their job for them. Train them and then get out of the way, right? I tell people I'm slow to hire and I'm quick to fire. Cancer spreads really fast. We all know that. It's a terrible situation. But if I can take the time to train them and hire slowly, get the right person, train them good, then they should pay for themselves. And it's not a waste of time or money or energy when you hire the right person. Yeah.
It's so interesting because, we're in sales. Like it really is the name of the game. I don't care what business you're in. It really comes down to sales. What was it? Mark Cuban said, sales is the cure of all problems.
Make more calls. Sell more stuff.
Right. Why do we as entrepreneurs, and again, people listening who are maybe wanting to open up a business someday, how come lots of times that is the thing that's like last on the list? You know what I mean? Like, I find myself spending a lot of my creative time, if I'm not careful, on logistics, admin stuff. I mean, obviously it has to get done, but how come we sometimes put the most important thing last? Have you found any connection between that?
I think it's two things. Number one, fear of rejection. That's it. Nobody likes to be rejected. right? And so it's a mind game that we have to play with ourselves. It's not life or death. Somebody doesn't want to buy from me. Somebody doesn't need my product. Next. We got to move on. But that's usually number one. And number two, I think it's the game of comparison. We look at somebody like a Mark Cuban or a Steve Jobs or somebody, we're like, Jeff Bezos, whoever, you, right? Do I want to sit here and be the person who sits back and says, hey, do this, and I've arrived, or at least I think I've arrived. And that's the kiss of death for any business. I think when, you are an entrepreneur, especially if you're a solo entrepreneur or a small team, like you have to be the captain of the ship. You have to be the one that everybody's following. You have to be the visionary. You have to be the creative mind. You have to be the salesperson. You have to pay attention to the finances. And I think sometimes we reach a status. I'm guilty of it. I hired salespeople to help me sell. And then I'm like, well, wait, I'm giving my biggest asset away, which is my leads, to somebody who might not be the best salesperson on my team. Duh. Right? If I'm the best salesperson, shouldn't I keep the leads and delegate the administrative work and the task and all of those other things? But I think we get in our head, hey, get a little big for my britches, maybe. And I've gone through all of those things. So when I point these things out, I'm looking at myself in the mirror, just so everybody knows. I can speak about them because I'm guilty of all of them at some point in time.
Yeah, I love that. That's great insight. I love that. You recently did a TEDx talk. Congratulations. Tell us about that. What was the title of that?
It's the one habit women entrepreneurs need to embrace, and it is about financial literacy, right? And so another, big lesson for me, I had a lot of money challenges when I first got started because we didn't know what we didn't know. And, so I failed at many things in my business, and money being the top one. And it's the number one reason why businesses fail. New businesses, 1 in 5 will fail. And women are on the rise. Let's be honest. There are so many more women-owned businesses now, and they can raise capital. They can wear multiple hats. And the one missing piece a lot of times is the cash flow, or how to manage the cash flow. So for me, I wanted to make sure that I gave women a very simple system of how to do a profit and loss to stay in check every single week. And so I do a Financial Friday meeting where I do a checks and balances. What's going out? What's coming in? Am I staying within budget? And it's a very simple task, but it's one that's overlooked. Of the 4 pillars of business, the finances is usually the last one on the list. And technically it should be the first. First should be money. Second should be sales. And the rest will figure it out. But if without money or sales, you kind of don't have a business.
Right. Let's talk about this for a second. This TEDx talk was specifically towards financial literacy, towards female entrepreneurs. That's how our mutual friend introduced us together. He was like, this gal is like a financial genius. So let's go there. I want to preface it. I don't want to intimidate you, but I'm an old Dave Ramsey protege from back in the day. So I used to do my own seminars and teach people how to budget. So I'm curious, like what specifically do females sometimes, is it a mindset or something that they struggle with because of their wiring, that they struggle with money or handling money maybe different than perhaps a male?
Yeah, I think, especially for my generation in our households growing up, money was never talked about. So that's one issue. I came from a broken home. My mother always worked 2 jobs. My dad is a farmer. Was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and we definitely didn't talk about money, right? So for me, and a lot of people in my generation, maybe money was never talked about. So we, go to college or we get a job. We don't really know how to manage money. We didn't talk about budgets. I didn't have a credit card until I was in my 20s, but boy, the minute I got one, I got myself in trouble, right? So I think number one is we're not taught financial literacy a lot of times in our home. Number 2 is if you marry a spouse or partner and they handle the money and you just always have money, you don't have to worry about do we need to do a profit and loss? Are we on budget? What's my credit card balance? We don't have to worry about that. So I think that's the second problem. And then the third thing I think is there's not a lot of talk around the women's table, if you will, about finances. So it's kind of a faux pas, whether it's religion or politics. For women, it's a lot of times it's money. Like we don't want to talk about what we make because we fear being judged, or we fear being cut out of a group because we might be higher or lower than the group, income that's sitting around the table or whatever. So I think it's a lot of emotion around money that really drives women to struggle in that department. And I was all of those things, right? And so I hired a business coach. And if you listen to the TEDx, you'll hear, I won't tell you the whole story, but I thought I had a time management issue. I was working, sneaking out of the bed at night, leaving my family, because I just couldn't get caught up. And the truth of the matter was, I just didn't have enough money. But I never admitted that to myself. I was burning and churning, and not saving my money. Or spending it properly. And so when my coach said, your issue is really money, not time, I was like, are you kidding me? I can work circles around everybody. Yeah, I'm not sleeping. I'm unhealthy. I'm unhappy. And my family hates my guts, but I'm making money, right? And, but I didn't know what to do with it. And so I, at that point, I was taught how to do a profit and loss. I was taught how to track all of that income in and out the door for percentages of how much to spend and how much to save, and the difference in net income and taxable income and all the things that we don't learn in real estate school. And I was given a gift, and that was about 20 years ago. And I thought, you know what, if I can learn this, I can teach this. And so I learned it, and I just don't shy away from hard money conversations. Believe me, I do not have all the answers about investments and where to put your money, but I can simplify your money process to 2 credit cards, 1 for personal, 1 for business, 2 savings accounts, 1 for personal, 1 for business, 2 checking accounts, save 20%, never touch it. All of those rules that Dave Ramsey and all of us teach. That's a gift to people who have not had those money conversations. And maybe it's easier coming from a woman to a woman versus hearing that from a guy.
Interesting. I think for people that are just getting into business, it's just like, just make as much money as you can. There's no strategy, none. It's just like, just try to, grind it out and get as many sales as you can just to keep the lights on. What would you tell somebody who's especially just getting started that you see them making the biggest mistake financially where it hurts them down the road? And if they started that now, they'd be maybe ahead of the game.
Yeah, I would say, and no disrespect, but keep it simple, stupid. Before we got on this, podcast recording, I was telling you, I literally just got Instagram in January of 2025. It just wasn't my business. I was a referral-based business. I did 30 years of real estate by knocking doors, sitting open houses, asking friends for help. And I think sometimes we see all the shiny objects and we're like, we've got to have this. We've got to advertise here. We got to invest here. And the truth of the matter is, if you're a new entrepreneur, call on your friends, ask for help, knock doors, do the basics. And as the money comes in, then start investing in marketing and, tactics and tools and tips and all of these things. But, if you're a coffee maker, be the best daggum coffee maker in the front. And if it's, hard press or, French press or whatever, don't buy the best of everything going into business and ruin your capital, the capital that you have, or burn through it, because there will be a sometime that you will need that capital back. And I talk about that in my book. When the market tanked in 7, 8, and 9, I'd put all my eggs in one basket. And it was a matter of going to my husband and saying, hey, I need to borrow $150,000 from our savings account to pay the employees, to keep the doors open, and to continue to market, because this market will come back, but right now it's in the tank. And he trusted me and he said, take the money. And, by the grace of God, we were able to do that and get the money back and flourish. But there will come a time that you're going to need that little nest egg for something. Equipment will break. Somebody will be sick. A market will shift. So don't spend all your capital. Do less with more and put more elbow grease and grunt work and that grind that we talked about earlier. And as the capital grows, then start investing it.
I see 2 sides of the pendulum here. You've kind of got, old school Dave Ramsey, as conservative as he possibly can, and then you've got, Kiyosaki, who's like, shoot for the stars. I played from a very conservative rule book for years. I noticed it got me to a point and then it couldn't get me to the next level. I then had to shift something in here and then go way beyond my comfort zone, right? Motivational speakers, and I'm not suggesting you're one of those people, but people like us are on stage, where, think big and go big, right? Where is at what point is going big maybe a little too big right away? You know what I'm saying? Because I tell people that. I'm like, think really big a year out and play as if. And they'll say, well, that person would be playing here and investing here. And I'm like, well, then go for it. Do you subscribe to that? Or are there just certain percentages, like I will only spend X amount of my profit on marketing? Are you a little bit more mindset or a little bit more tactical, or maybe a little bit of both?
Probably probably a little bit of both. So when
Okay.
I teach people to do their P&L, I really dig into where's the money going and try to set some good parameters for them. So, spend 5 to 10%, 15% on your fixed expenses, spend 35% on your wages. The ultimate goal is, especially in entrepreneurship, I mean, if you look at McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, I mean, their percentage margins are so small of what they get to. And so my goal is to help people get to where they want to go. Me personally, I wanted to keep 50% of everything I made. And so that was and so I could tweak the numbers a little bit. When my team was bigger, I would spend more on wages, but I could cut some overhead. And, as far as like packaging mail services, we could do that in-house. We can buy the stamps. We don't have to pay, those kind of things. So, I'm all about both. I like having some metrics that I can measure myself with, but yes, I want to go big all the time. And, my big first hairy audacious goal was get net $1 million in real estate, which is very hard to do. And then you get to one, you're like, oh, I want to do two. And then you get to two and you're like, oh, I want to do three. Right. And a lot of people think that that's just easy. Just double your activities. It's not that easy. It's kind of like running a half marathon and a full marathon. It's not double the work for the full marathon. It's triple the work. If you're a runner out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's the same thing with, your money. You can't just double your income every year it's going to cost you. You're going to have to add some help and you're going to have to add some expenses. So I probably play on both. I do like people to shoot for the moon and the stars, but is it a 20% growth a year so the wheels aren't coming off? Is it a 5% because you've got life happening and life is going to happen, baby coming on, sick parent, something. So I really want to know more about their why the big jump or why they want that, and then make sure that we can make it happen. Because I don't want to set anybody up for failure, but I do think we have to dream, and I'm not opposed to dreaming for the big stars.
I resonate with that. I'm 1.5 years into being a full solopreneur. I've got, I'm a one income family, 4 small kids, 3 of them in school. One has braces, one goes to specialty school. It's just like cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. You know what I'm saying? So, it's a delicate balance that I'm figuring out, as I go. I've asked a lot of people this, and I want to get your opinion on this. It seems that the people that I ask that have built really significant platforms, businesses, incomes, I'm like, when could you feel like you could take your foot off the gas? And I don't mean that in effort and energy. I don't mean it like that, but like, how it is. You're building something those first couple of years. It's like you're trying to get off the ground. You're trying to get the rocket shit off the ground, right? I hear mostly from people 3 to 5 years. What have you seen and what have you experienced?
That's a great question. So I started as a receptionist at 18 years old and in a real estate company, and that's how I started. So I had a PhD for 7 years before I launched my sales career. And so for me, I did it wrong from, for 5 years, 6 years until I hired my coach. I was doing it all wrong. I was burning and churning, no cash, working too many hours, cutting commissions out of fear. My mindset was always scarcity. And then I think when I hired a coach and the coach said to me, this is the plan. And if you follow the plan, it will work. And I fought it. I fought that plan for 6 or 7 months because I'm like, I can't change doing what I'm doing to go your direction. I'll just keep doing it this way. And I'm paying for a coach and I'm not doing it. And finally, one day it was just, you hit the brick wall. And it's like, you know what I'm doing is not working. I'm not getting ahead. So maybe I need to trust another process. And so when I took off in coaching 2 years into that plan, I doubled my income, and then I doubled my income again, and then I doubled my income again. And I think that sometimes the issue is not the time, it's the mind, right? I think we want to put a time set on it as, I'm going to double my income in 2 years, or I'm going to hit X dollars in revenue in, this many years. But if the mind's not right, it doesn't matter what goal you put out there, you're going to struggle. And so for me, I had to surrender to a process that somebody had a better way than I did. And what did I have to lose at that point? I'm burnt out. I'm broke. It's a mess. And so let me just try it. And it worked. So I would say, I don't know that I can put a time frame on it, but I would say get in your mind and make sure that you're always working from the abundance mindset versus the scarcity mindset, because we can get trapped in scarcity and it can paralyze you. It can make you freeze, flight, whatever. Our mind is really the game that we need to play and win. It's not the game that we play with each other, in my opinion.
Dude, I love that. That's fantastic. And again, I can highly relate to that because I lived in such scarcity for 43 years and I was capped in every facet of my life, career, money, marriage, physical, I mean, all of it. And then if I look back, what I did really well, yes, I was putting energy into the system, but I was really fighting and unwinding this here. So I think to your point, what I hear you say is that it's not really about the time, it's about how much energy you're putting into really shaping or reshaping how you think. And that is the the afterburner, the gasoline that puts fire on the or fuel on the fire, so to speak.
Yeah. And I think, when you start a business, I know for me, I was just doing everything to be successful, but I was unhealthy. I was unhappy. I was overweight. I didn't sleep. My health was not great. My marriage was not great. Our money was terrible. I jokingly say, I don't think my 6-year-old kid even knew that I was his mom. I was never home. Right. And I think that we can play in that trap, and where that comes from is the comparing against somebody else. Well, I want to be that person and they're so much further ahead of me, so I'll outwork them to get to there. And it just doesn't happen. The energy is going to run out, right? You cannot pour from an empty cup. So I think a lot of times our mindset starts with how we treat ourselves. What's going into the well is coming up in the bucket. What are you reading? What are you saying? What's your morning routine? How do you treat your body? And I don't mean 75 hard, like kill yourself. Like take a walk around the block at lunchtime. Just move your body. We were talking about your snowstorm there. I mean, I live in Florida because I want to be outside. I am very good in nature.
You want to trade?
And I just know where I'm best suited. And so I would tell people, really, when you feed yourself and your soul, your mind, your spirit first, listen, we can overcome anything, but it's when we're the last person that gets service and then we wonder why the growth isn't happening or the burnout keeps coming or we keep hitting that brick wall. We got to look inside.
Man, I get so many questions here, but I don't want to move away from this topic yet because I believe the amount of energy, passion, work into the system, with the correct intention, with the right emotion, you do that over time, you hyper accelerate the breakthrough. And that's kind of what I teach. I'm like, it's not about just staying in the game. It's about trying to collapse time between the level ups so you don't quit, because the only way you lose is if you quit, right? So yeah, I don't know how to articulate this question, but I think we'd both agree you must pour energy into the system, right? In fact, almost to the point of being obsessive, right? Having obsession can get like a negative connotation. You get obsessed, right? And then you experience what you just mentioned. You don't even know your kids know that they had a mom, and marriage is falling apart, and physical health is going down. I think we could all agree that that's not healthy. How do you stay obsessive, pouring energy into the system to build it as fast as you can? So we're reshaping our mind and getting everything in order and doing what we need to do, but yet having balance. Because again, there's two types of people who are like driven, and people who are just seeking balance. And it seems like this is just my opinion, seems like the people that are the driven ones get it. The ones that are seeking balance don't. But you have to believe that there's got to be some middle ground in there. How do we establish that perfect balance?
I would say two things. Intentionality is number one. Like, where do you direct your energy when you're at work? Right? I mean, I coach people all the time. I'm like, write down every 30 minutes where you're on. They're like, oh, I'm getting my hair cut. I'm going to run and get my nails done. I'm like, dude, that's not working. I mean, you might say you're at work, but that's right. So intentional. If I'm going to go work for 6 hours, then I'm intentionally working for 6 hours. One of the things that I do is I create my to-do list for tomorrow, tonight. I don't want to come in here and then try to figure out what I'm going to do. I want to live on purpose. I want to work on purpose. So when I come in here, I know exactly, like I created this planner that's behind me, but like I came in today and you can see I'm literally on purpose. I don't know if I can get this in here, but like my to-do list and my appointments and my questions and all, I mean, this was done last night. So I'm dressed, I come in here and I'm like, go to work, get on the phone, get on the computer, get on whatever. So I think number one is intentionality. I think that people that get there faster really live on purpose and intentionality. The second thing is eliminate distractions. I think that high D personalities, we're squirrel chasers. We are entrepreneurs, but we're easily distracted. And so what I mean by that is put your phone on silent, turn it upside down when you're on calls. right? I teach people that I work with, when you're making your calls, print your call list out. And they're like, that's so antiquated. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? If you're in your computer in your CRM and an email pops up and you're on the phone with somebody, you're like, yeah, yeah, okay. And believe me, I can hear you clicking on your keyboard. And you know what it says to me? I'm not important, because we think we're great multitaskers. Let me assure you, we're not. Nobody was meant to be a multitasker, in my opinion, right? Like, be all in on this conversation. Be all in on your cell phone when you check it. Be all in on making your calls. And I think that is the two things that separate those people, is allowing yourself to be distracted and not being intentional or on purpose. That's just my opinion.
I think it's fantastic advice, because you're still throwing energy into the system. You're doing it very effectively and efficiently over not just an hour here and there, but like fill up your work day. And then after that, be intentional with your off time. I think that there is a way to find balance. I'm still kind of in the process of finding it. It may be an ongoing process, but I do agree with you in a lot of ways. If you can really be intentional with your time, that does help. Gosh darn it. Anyway, we're out of time already. I want to get to this, because in your book, Embrace, Empower, Evolve, you talk about, how our challenges are our greatest opportunities. You're preaching to the choir here. Just even in the last year of my life, if you know my story, and a lot of people listening do, what is the biggest mental reset people need to do, overcome, or see, or a new perspective shift for people that are either going through hard times, going through tragedy, experienced tragedy, had a troubled childhood that maybe have them believing something that's keeping them capped? What's something you can tell them that kind of change their viewpoint on some of those challenges?
I will tell you, I give a lot of credit to journaling. And so for me, I came from a broken home, so I was always begging for acceptance from my dad. Then I start dating and I get acceptance from somebody. It's the wrong person. So I have a broken marriage. And I just was always struggling with who could I trust with my secrets. And when I'm failing, I say something to somebody. I'm like, oh, I'm really failing. They're like, yeah, you are. And I'm like, oh gosh, that's not what I needed to hear, right? And so I had to find an outlet of a safe place where there was no judgment. It was a safe zone. And I could write down my feelings of, my dad hurt my feelings, my husband hurt my feelings, my mom, is not returning my call, or whatever the situation is. And for me, I could write those thoughts down, and then I could review them and be like, you know what, that's their problem. That's not my problem. Like, I'm a good person. And so the thing that really changed my life to keep my mind in check was journaling. And so that's kind of why my book is my memoir, but at the end of each chapter, I get people to go into this. What's that limiting belief that's telling you you're not accepted? Or what's holding you back from making that big leap of faith into the new career? And getting them to really go inside, because I'm not a therapist, but I know I therapied myself, if you will, back to a pretty positive person, well, very positive person, but also through some of the darkest times. And it was just, I needed somewhere to go to be an outlet. And so I still journal every day. I've been doing it for over 30 years. And it could be a sentence. People are like, I don't even know what to say. And like, hey, I'm feeling great today. I got a good night's sleep. I'm going to crush the day. That's a journal entry, right? And if you're in a day where you're like, I just lost a big sale, my husband, I had a big fight, or, my kids aren't talking to me, you can go back to that day and have a win. I think that journaling for me is where I can celebrate my wins and high five my damn self once in a while, because there ain't nobody else doing it for me. And it's also a place that I can be vulnerable and raw and real without being judged or condemned for the way I'm feeling or something that happened in my life. So that was really the game changer for me. And I just encourage somebody, get a notebook, just start writing down your thoughts. It could be a page, it could be a sentence, but it gives you a place to out it. And then I will tell you, it helps me live in that intention during the day, because if I wake up and something's heavy on my heart, then it's on my mind all day. But if I can get it on paper, get it out, it's not a distraction throughout the day.
Be your biggest cheerleader, be intentional, run your business intentionally. Yes. With financial wellness in mind. Make sure you are elevating sales to the top of the list, and don't get caught in the grind. Kendra Cooke, thank you for joining me here today. This has been awesome. I knew this was going to go fast. We're out of time, but where can people find more about you, your TED Talk, your books? What's up?
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. It's just my name, Kendra Cooke. Cooke has an E at the end. My website, you can sign up for my newsletter. And the TEDx talk should be out any day, so I will post it all over social so you can go watch it on YouTube.
Excited to watch it. Kendra, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
You're a rock star, girl.
Oh, thank you. That was fun. It did go fast.
If this conversation sparked something in you, don't let it fade. Please rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform. Don't forget to connect with me online as well. Follow me at Jared Sebesta on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, or dive deeper at my website, jaredsebesta.com, where all my free trainings and resources are waiting for you. And remember, stop chasing the life you want and start becoming. This is the Breakthrough Effect. We'll see you next time.